Welcome back, American coin hunter, in the world of American coinage. Few everyday pieces carry the strange mixture of ordinary familiarity and mysterious allure, quite like the 2001 D1 cent coin, the Denver minted Lincoln cent that circulated through millions of hands, yet somehow became the source of countless stories, myths, and whispered rumors about astonishing value, rare variations, and the kind of numismatic fortune that seems too unbelievable to be true. And when collectors begin talking about the possibility that one of these humble copper-coated zinc coins could somehow be worth hundreds of millions of dollars, the story becomes even more fascinating, drawing in beginners and experts alike who want to understand how an object so small, common, and unassuming could inspire such enormous speculation. To understand why the 2001 D penny has captured so much attention, you must start at the beginning, with its design, its history, its composition, its minting process, and the subtle variations that can transform an ordinary coin into something extraordinary in the eyes of the collector community. Even though the typical 2001 D cent is worth only face value, or perhaps a few cents in high grade, there are always stories circulating, claims that a particular mistake coin, an unknown error, or a preserved specimen of impossible perfection could be appraised at some surreal number like $432 million. These stories, though rooted more in imagination than reality, fuel a powerful curiosity about what makes one coin ordinary and another coin priceless. So let us dive deep into every aspect of the 2001 D penny, pulled straight from the Denver Mint at the dawn of the 21st century, and unravel why people obsess over it, why myths surround it, and why the idea of a $400 million version continues to echo across collector circles, even if no such sale has ever taken place. The 2001 D cent carries the iconic design created by Victor David Brenner in 1909, with the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right, his profile, detailed with careful lines that were originally inspired by a photograph captured decades earlier. Across the top edge of the obverse side appears the inscription, "In God We Trust," a phrase that has been part of U.S. coinage for generations, symbolizing national principles and the cultural context of the time. To the left of Lincoln's portrait rests the word liberty, placed subtly yet prominently to signify one of the country's founding values. To the right appears the date, 2001, and just beneath it sits the mint mark D, the mark of the Denver Mint, which produced hundreds of millions of these cents during that year. The design, although familiar, holds a certain timeless beauty. Its simplicity is part of its strength. The Lincoln cent obverse has become one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history, making every piece a tiny piece of American heritage. On the reverse of the 2001 D penny is the image of the Lincoln Memorial, a design crafted by Frank Gasparo and first introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Each tiny column of the miniature memorial is visible, and at the center, if magnified, one can even see a tiny representation of the seated statue of Lincoln. Above the building stands the motto, E pluribus unum, a Latin phrase meaning, out of many, one, reflecting the unity of the states. The name of the nation curves across the top, United States of America, and at the bottom sits the denomination, 1 cent, a reminder that regardless of age or story, its official value remains a single penny. Yet within this single penny hides layers of history, composition, and minting details that make collectors pay attention. The coin itself is made of a zinc core coated with a thin layer of copper. Since 1982, the composition of the cent shifted away from nearly solid copper to this copper-plated zinc format due to rising metal costs. The weight of a 2001 D cent is approximately 2.5 grams, a standard measurement for modern pennies, and its diameter is 19.05 millimeters. Although these numbers seem purely technical, collectors examine them carefully when searching for errors. A weight difference, even a slight one, might indicate an off-metal strike, a doubled planchet, or a piece struck on an older copper blank, all of which could dramatically increase value. And while no known example from 2001 D has achieved mythical status by being struck on a bronze planchet from the pre-1982 era, the possibility always lingers. After all, the coin world thrives on the rare accidental survivor, the minting oversight, the fluke that results in a modern date being struck on an old composition. Stories of such errors in other years fuel rumors that a 2001D version could be out there, unnoticed, sitting in a jar, waiting for discovery. And then you hear the exaggerated claims, the dramatic tales told on late-night forums or in viral videos, that one of these hypothetical mistakes could be worth not just thousands, not just millions, but a staggering $432 million. The number itself is almost comically large for a coin worth 1 cent, but its presence in collector discussions speaks to the imagination and excitement that coins can generate. But where do these astronomical claims come from? Part of it stems from misunderstanding, part from exaggeration, part from the natural desire to believe that hidden treasure might be lying in plain sight. People love the idea that a simple penny in their pocket might secretly hold the value of a mansion, an island, or a lifetime of financial security. The myth of the world-changing penny becomes a kind of modern folklore, spreading through stories, social media posts, collector rumors, and the general fascination the public has with rare objects. And yet, even though number 2001D cent has ever sold for such a staggering sum, there are still real reasons collectors pay attention to them. For one, certain error varieties, if they exist, could be worth significant amounts. A double-die obverse with dramatic doubling on the inscriptions, for example, could raise value into the hundreds or thousands. A broad strike error, a die cap, an off-center strike with substantial detail preserved, or a mule error combining a mismatched design from another coin could lift the value even higher. The Denver Mint has produced its share of notable errors in various years, and collectors always watch closely for new discoveries. Beyond errors, another layer of value lies in high-grade specimens. A 2001D cent struck perfectly, free of marks, scratches, or discoloration, preserved in a way that appears untouched by circulation, can reach surprisingly high values in professional grading systems. Coins graded MS-68 or MS-69 by major grading authorities fall into the extremely rare category because modern high-mintage coins typically experience minor imperfections during mass production. So when a coin from a year like 2001 emerges in almost flawless condition, collectors take notice. Prices can climb rapidly, though nowhere near the mythical hundreds of millions. But still, the fascination with perfection keeps collectors hunting, examining their pocket change, and feeling a sense of anticipation with every coin they flip. The very idea that a common object could become rare due to extraordinary preservation creates a treasure hunt that spans the country. And while the legendary $400 million figure remains fiction, the underlying truth is that collectors love the chase, and the chase fuels the market. But let us imagine for a moment how such a number even became part of the conversation. Often, it begins with misunderstandings of auction records or misinterpretations of headlines. Someone reads about a rare coin selling for millions, the 1933 Double Eagle, for example, and suddenly thinks any old coin could match that. Or someone sees speculative videos claiming massive values for common dates, and the story gets retold until the exaggeration becomes part of the mythos. The 2001D penny falls into this category of myth magnet coins. A coin so ordinary that claiming it is worth hundreds of millions becomes irresistible to storytellers, even though no professional numismatist would ever assign such a figure. Yet this myth, instead of hurting the coin's reputation, adds entertainment, intrigue, and curiosity. It draws in new enthusiasts who then learn real facts about minting, coin grading, errors, and history. In that way, even the mythical value serves a purpose. And when we look at the history of the Denver Mint, the producer of this 2001D cent, we see an institution known for its enormous output. The Denver Mint has long been responsible for circulating coins across the western United States, and in 2001 it struck hundreds of millions of cents. Each one traveled a different path. Some entered circulation immediately, some sat in rolls for years, some were saved in brand new condition, some were tossed into fountains, some ended up buried in drawers, and a few were set aside by collectors. The idea that among these millions could be a special rarity keeps people searching. And the more they search, the more they learn about the minting process, how planchets are fed into presses, how die strike images onto metal, how misalignment, double striking, die deterioration, or contamination create the varieties that excite collectors. Understanding these processes deepens appreciation for coins that appear perfectly normal. A 2001D penny may look the same as any other year's cent, but behind its existence lies a century of mint evolution, shifting metal compositions, technological upgrades, and economic decisions. Even the coin's diameter, its copper sheen, its subtle design texture, all these small details reflect choices made by the U.S. Mint to balance durability, aesthetics, tradition, and cost. When you hold such a coin, you hold not only a piece of metal but a compressed history of American monetary policy. You hold the story of Lincoln's legacy, Brenner's artistic vision, Gasparo's memorial design, and decades of changes in how coins are produced. Whether the coin is worth 1 cent or $100 in a collector setting, its cultural value remains significant. And that cultural value is part of what allows myths to flourish. A coin that everyone knows becomes a canvas onto which stories can be projected. And once those stories take hold, even numbers as extreme as $432 million can become part of the coin's folklore. Unrealistic, yes, but captivating nonetheless. Now consider how collectors interact with such myths. Most experienced collectors know that the 2001D penny has no verified million-dollar variants. They understand grading scales, error types, and the economic factors that determine real value. But newcomers, hearing a dramatic claim, may rush to examine every penny they own. This enthusiasm is not useless. It sparks interest in coin collecting, which leads to real knowledge, real appreciation, and sometimes real discoveries. Many major numismatic finds in history began with ordinary people checking their pocket change. So even though the $400 million story is fictional, the excitement it generates may lead someone to find a genuine rarity from another date, another mint, or even another denomination. The myth, in a strange way, fuels the hobby, and when we examine the market for modern cents, we see an interesting trend. People seek perfection. They submit rolls of brand new bank-wrapped coins to grading services in hopes of scoring extremely high grades. The competition for the highest registry set pieces becomes fierce, with collectors bidding heavily for top pop coins. A 2001D penny graded MS-69, if it exists in extremely small numbers, could become highly valuable within that specialized market, perhaps reaching amounts that surprise non-collectors. And though such values remain nowhere near the mythical hundreds of millions, they still demonstrate how rarity, even within common coins, can create powerful demand. The collector's instinct to chase the best, the rarest, the unique drives prices upward, sometimes unpredictably. But beyond grading and errors, the story of the 2001D penny rests in its symbolism. It represents the continuation of a long-running series that began nearly a century earlier. It marks a moment in time, 2001, a year of transition, a year that many people remember for significant global events. Coins minted in that year become historical artifacts of a world on the brink of change. Even though the average 2001D cent circulated for years without fanfare, the historical context in which it was made gives it a narrative quality. And narratives influence value, not monetary value, but emotional and symbolic value. A coin that has lived through decades, circulated through thousands of hands, witnessed economic shifts, and survived the wear and tear of life becomes more than metal. It becomes memory. It becomes story. And story gives meaning. And when you blend story with myth, you get the strange, compelling rumor that a particular 2001D penny could somehow be worth an impossible sum, like $432 million. It is not true, but it is fascinating. It is a reminder of how much value humans assign to objects based on belief, rarity, history, and narrative. The penny itself remains humble, small, light, and simple. But the ideas surrounding it are vast, stretching from realistic collecting principles to outrageous fantasy. And somewhere in the middle lies the truth, that even the most ordinary objects can inspire extraordinary curiosity. And so the story of the 2001D penny continues to grow in unexpected directions as people dive deeper into the layers of mystery and meaning that seem to cling to even the simplest circulating coin. For many collectors, the fascination begins not because the coin is rare, but because it is ordinary, because it represents something familiar, something embedded into everyday American life. A penny is something that people overlook, toss into drawers, drop into parking lots, or leave behind in change trays, thinking it holds no significance at all. Yet when a rumor emerges that one of these overlooked pieces could be worth unimaginable wealth, curiosity spreads like wildfire. Suddenly, a coin once ignored becomes an object of intense scrutiny. People start examining dates, mint marks, edges, weights, colors, and minute details under magnifying glasses, hoping to discover something extraordinary hidden within the most ordinary of items. This pattern repeats generation after generation, and in each cycle new myths are born, old versions are retold, and the coin at the center of the story gains a kind of legendary aura. And the 2001 D penny, despite being minted in huge numbers, manages to occupy its own unique place in this ongoing tradition of folklore mixed with numismatic education. There is something undeniably compelling about the idea that a circulating coin could become a treasure worth far more than anyone believes. The human mind loves the idea of the unexpected, the miraculous, the hidden gem waiting to be found in plain sight. When people hear a story about a penny supposedly valued at over $400 million, even though experts know such a price is impossible, the imagination takes over. People picture themselves discovering the rarest of the rare, the one mistake coin slipped through the mint machinery without detection, the one piece minted on a wrong planchet, the one coin with an error so spectacular that it becomes a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. They picture auctions with flashing lights, collectors bidding in a frenzy, the hammer dropping at a price that shocks the world. They imagine a simple penny changing someone's life forever. Even if the story is unrealistic, the dream behind it is universal, and dreams drive enthusiasm. To understand the reality behind these dreams, one must look deeply at how coins are made. Inside the Denver Mint in 2001, machines manufactured pennies at astonishing speed. Blank zinc discs were fed into presses, coated with copper, and stamped with the iconic Lincoln design. The pressure used during striking reached tens of tons, enough to leave sharp impressions of Lincoln's profile and the Lincoln Memorial on the other side. These machines, though highly precise, were not infallible. Dies wore down, planchets jammed, feeder fingers misaligned, and small contaminants sometimes found their way into the process. Each of these conditions created the possibility for errors, and errors are the heart of numismatic excitement. Some errors are minor, adding only a little value. Others, however, can become extremely valuable. And this gap between commonality and rarity fuels the belief that any penny, including a 2001 D cent, could be extraordinary. Collectors who study the 2001 D penny pay close attention to details many people overlook. For example, the thickness of the copper plating can vary slightly. If the plating is too thin, zinc corrosion may appear, creating spots that look like bubbles or pits. If the plating is too thick, especially around the edges, the rim can appear oddly shaped. While these features rarely add value, they indicate the complexity of the minting process. Then there are die cracks, small raised lines that appear on the coin when the die used to strike it begins to wear or split. Although minor die cracks typically do not create high value, dramatic ones, such as a large crack running across Lincoln's face or through the memorial, can interest collectors. There are also die chips, areas where pieces of the die break off, leaving small blobs of raised metal on the coin. These chips often appear near the date, near the mint mark, or on Lincoln's coat. Some collectors enjoy assembling entire sets of die chip varieties, creating a kind of treasure hunt for minute imperfections. Another fascinating error type that collectors dream of finding on a 2001 D penny is the double die. A true double die error is created during the die-making process when the hub used to press the design onto a die shifts slightly between impressions, causing letters or numbers to appear doubled on the final struck coins. True double dies are extremely valuable when dramatic. The famous 1955 double die cent is a prime example, with its bold doubling visible without magnification. For the 2001 D penny, no major double die has been confirmed with the same dramatic effect, but minor varieties exist. These small doubled areas, while interesting, do not command extraordinary prices. However, collectors continue searching, always hoping to find a major variety overlooked by others. Because of this constant search, myths grow. Someone hears a rumor of a dramatic 2001D double die and repeats it. Someone else claims they saw an article about a penny worth hundreds of millions. The details get mixed, exaggerated, and transformed until the claim becomes almost mythical. The idea that a single 2001D penny could be worth $432 million. If such a coin truly existed, it would need to be something beyond extraordinary, something unprecedented. It would need to be a first-of-its-kind error, a previously unknown mint experiment, a mule combining the obverse of a Lincoln cent with the reverse of a completely different denomination, or a coin struck on a precious metal planchet by mistake. These kinds of errors do happen, but extremely rarely, and never documented. For the 2001D cent mule errors, for instance, are among the most valuable coin errors in the world. The 2000 Sacagawea dollar, state quarter mule, is one of the most famous modern examples, and it has achieved high auction prices because of its rarity and dramatic nature. If a 2001D penny were somehow struck with the reverse of a nickel or dime, or struck on a gold planchet, then yes, it could command a massive price. But those are hypothetical situations, not documented realities. Still, the imagination loves hypotheticals, and hypotheticals feed legend. Another factor that contributes to the fascination with the 2001D penny is the immense quantity produced. When a coin is minted in huge numbers, the chances for errors increase. With over 5 billion pennies produced across all mints in 2001, and hundreds of millions bearing the Denver mint mark, the high mintage alone creates a sense of possibility. Every collector knows that high mintages do not guarantee rare errors, but they do increase the pool of potential anomalies. This is why people examine rolls, jars, and pocket change, hoping to find a piece that stands out. And sometimes, the most valuable discoveries come from the most unexpected places. A valuable error coin might sit in circulation for years before someone notices its unusual feature. This potential for discovery, however slim, is what drives the relentless search for something extraordinary hidden among the ordinary. The mystique of the penny goes even deeper when you consider its role in American culture. For generations, pennies have been symbols of luck, thrift, and nostalgia. People remember picking them up as children, saving them in piggy banks, or rolling them into sleeves to take to the bank. The idea that these familiar objects could hide something incredibly rare taps into emotions beyond simple financial speculation. It becomes a story about childhood memories, about the magic of unexpected fortune, about the belief that treasure might exist even in places we least expect. Even though professionals know that number 2001D penny has reached mythical value, the emotional resonance of the story keeps it alive. It becomes part of the collective imagination, a dream passed from person to person. When new collectors enter the hobby, the first coin they usually study is the penny. It is accessible, cheap, abundant, and historically rich. A beginner can start collecting pennies with almost no financial investment, yet still learn about dates, mint marks, varieties, errors, grading, and historical context. The 2001D penny, being relatively modern, provides an easy entry point for novices. They can look for interesting errors, examine mint variations, and practice identifying flaws or features without worrying about damaging a high-value coin. This learning process is essential, and myths like the $400 million story serve an unexpected purpose. They bring fresh eyes into the hobby and create enthusiasm where there was none before. And once someone begins looking closely at coins, they often discover how intricate and fascinating the hobby truly is. In the world of grading, the 2001D penny stands as a challenge. Achieving an ultra-high grade such as MS69 or MS70 is extremely rare for modern cents, even those freshly opened from mint rolls. Small imperfections from the minting process, tiny contact marks, slight discolorations, microscopic scratches, prevent most coins from reaching the highest grades. This rarity makes top-grade coins highly prized within the registry competition world, where collectors try to assemble the best possible sets of coins graded by professional grading services. A top-pop 2001D penny in a near-perfect grade could sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on demand and population. While nowhere near the mythical figure of hundreds of millions, these real-world prices still surprise beginners who assume all common coins are worthless. This gap between perceived and actual value fuels curiosity, and curiosity keeps the hobby alive. And the story continues expanding because coins are more than metal. They are artifacts of human experience. A 2001 penny minted at the start of the century has witnessed technological evolution, economic cycles, cultural shifts, and world-changing events. People carried these coins through daily life: paychecks, grocery stores, vending machines, school lunches, bus fares, savings jars. Each coin, even if worth only 1 cent, becomes part of countless untold stories. And when you consider this human connection, the idea of myth-making becomes even more understandable. People create legends about objects that feel familiar, that feel like they belong to everyone. A penny becomes a symbol, and symbols naturally attract stories that stretch beyond reality. Collectors often talk about the energy a coin seems to hold, the sense that it carries history within it. While this feeling is subjective, it is powerful. A 2001 penny might not hold historical weight like a Civil War-era coin, but it still represents the everyday life of early 21st century America. The very idea that one of these coins could become priceless speaks to the human desire to elevate the ordinary into the extraordinary. It speaks to hope, imagination, and the belief that miracles can appear anywhere. As the fascination surrounding the 2001 penny continues to expand, there emerges a deeper psychological layer to the entire story, one that goes beyond metal composition, minting errors, or market speculation. It becomes a window into human behavior itself, revealing how people react to the idea of hidden fortune and how ordinary objects can become anchors for extraordinary dreams. When someone encounters the rumor that a penny, something so universally recognized as nearly worthless, could somehow be valued at hundreds of millions of dollars, the reaction is almost instinctive. Hearts race, imaginations ignite, and a rush of possibilities surges through the mind. Even those who know it is unlikely still feel compelled to check their pockets, sort through old jars, or inspect their change under a bright light, just to be certain they have not overlooked something life-changing. This reaction is powered by a blend of curiosity, hope, and the deeply rooted desire for discovery that lives in every human being. And the 2001 penny, through nothing more than whispers and rumors, manages to bring that desire to the surface. When you place a 2001 penny under magnification, something interesting happens. The coin, which normally seems plain and unremarkable, suddenly reveals a world of detail. Tiny ridges in Lincoln's hair, subtle contours of his coat, the crispness or softness of the lettering, the texture of the fields surrounding the design. All of these microscopic elements tell a story about how the coin was struck, how the die was polished, how the metal flowed into the design, and how much where the coin has endured. Collectors often spend hours studying these details, becoming familiar with every small characteristic that might indicate an error or variety. The more time someone spends looking, the more likely they are to understand why certain features matter and why some coins, despite looking normal to the naked eye, are actually significant to collectors. This process of close observation heightens the sense of possibility. Even if a person understands that the $400 million myth is just a myth, the act of looking closely trains the mind to see potential everywhere. And this potential is what transforms simple objects into fascinating ones. A 2001 penny might not carry incredible monetary value, but the mere idea that something unusual might exist within its design invites curiosity. That curiosity leads to learning. Learning leads to appreciation, and appreciation leads to a deeper love for the world of numismatics. It is a chain reaction sparked by a single small piece of metal. Collectors who handle thousands of coins over the years come to recognize patterns. They can tell the difference between damage and a genuine mint error, between die deterioration and doubled dies, between plating flaws and true off-metal strikes. They begin to understand that value lies not in rumors or wishful thinking, but in rarity, condition, demand, and documented evidence. Yet, even the most experienced collectors acknowledge that myths and stories play a role in sustaining interest, especially among newcomers. The myth of a $400 million penny may not be factual, but it generates excitement, and excitement fuels exploration. Exploration, in turn, leads to real discoveries. The coin community thrives on discoveries, and every new collector adds another pair of eyes searching for something extraordinary. Whether examining a coin's luster, studying its strike, or evaluating its surfaces for imperfections, collectors develop a kind of dialogue with the coin itself. They understand its past, imagine its future, and appreciate its form. When looking at a 2001 penny, even if the coin seems ordinary, this dialogue can still occur. The coin tells the story of the Denver Mint's production practices in the early 2000s. It speaks of the machinery that struck it, the metal composition chosen to reduce costs, the economic environment that influenced minting decisions, and the cultural significance of Lincoln's enduring portrait. All of these elements remind collectors that no coin is meaningless, even if it appears so at first glance. Consider, for example, how many hands a single 2001 penny might pass through during its lifetime. From the mint, it may travel to Colorado banks, then circulate into local businesses, then pass from person to person in casual transactions. It might pay for a newspaper, a piece of candy, a school lunch item, or a small donation at a charity counter. It might get tossed into a cup holder, fall between couch cushions, or sit in a coin jar for years. It might be used in a science experiment, a classroom activity, or a child's coin collection. Every journey adds invisible layers of history, even if the coin retains no physical scars. These journeys make the penny part of countless human stories, connecting people through the shared experience of using money. When someone later picks up that penny and learns about the rumor of its unbelievable value, they reimagine its journey, imagining how such an incredible object could have moved through everyday life unnoticed. This reimagining is part of the magic of coin collecting. It transforms everyday items into artifacts of wonder. The 2001 penny becomes not just a coin, but a symbol of possibility. It becomes a reminder that everything holds more than what the eye first sees. Even if the market value remains small, the emotional value grows with every story attached to it. And emotional value is what drives many collectors to explore deeper, learn more, and appreciate even the most common pieces in their collections. As people continue to talk about the legendary penny supposedly worth $432 million. The story evolves with each retelling. Some versions describe a unique double-struck error with dramatic, overlapping images. Others claim the coin was struck on a pure copper planchet that somehow remained in the mint nearly 2 decades after the composition change. Still others invent even stranger theories. Coins struck on gold, coins struck with mismatched dies, coins embedded with microscopic minting anomalies that only advanced technology could detect. None of these stories are verified, but each adds a layer of intrigue to the myth. The more outlandish the story, the more people want to believe there is at least some truth behind it. And yet, in the real world of professional numismatics, experts rely on hard evidence, documented sales, verified discoveries, and technical analysis. If a truly extraordinary 2001 penny were ever found, something beyond all known varieties, news would spread quickly through official channels. Professional grading services would analyze the coin, authenticate it, and assign it a grade and label describing the error. Major auction houses would announce its sale, and collectors would engage in heated competition to own such a remarkable piece. Prices could climb high, perhaps extremely high, but never into the realm of hundreds of millions unless the coin represented something historically unprecedented. Even so, the foundation of numismatics is built on the idea that the unexpected can happen. Rare discoveries do occur. Lost treasures sometimes resurface. Unknown varieties can be found by ordinary people doing nothing more than looking carefully at the change in their pocket. That chance, no matter how tiny, is powerful. It keeps people searching, keeps them learning, keeps them imagining. It keeps the story of the 2001 penny alive. And as long as people continue to hope for extraordinary finds, coins like the 2001 cent will continue to occupy a special place in the imagination. A penny may be small, but the world of meaning surrounding it is vast. As we continue exploring the mysterious journey of the 2001 1-cent coin, it becomes increasingly important to understand how a tiny copper-plated zinc disc struck in Denver at enormous speed and volume. could somehow rise to the status of a legend, a collectible many dream of finding, a piece associated with stories of astronomical value and near-mythical rarity. Even though billions were minted, not every coin lives the same fate. Some vanish due to circulation wear, others are destroyed in coin-counting machines, some are melted down or discarded, and yet, a very small handful end up in places that seem almost fated, becoming treasure for collectors who understand the deeper layers of history behind what most people mistake as ordinary pocket change. The value of such a coin isn't simply in its metal, which amounts to almost nothing in monetary terms, but in the narrative embedded in every microscopic scratch, every detail of Lincoln's portrait, every shadow inside the memorial's columns, and every parameter of its creation, journey, and preservation. When a coin reaches the status of near-mythic importance, especially one as humble as a penny, it becomes more than a monetary tool. It becomes an artifact of culture, time, economics, and human curiosity. Collectors often speak about the 2001 D penny in hushed tones when referring to those few exceptional specimens graded at the highest levels by well-known certification companies. A regular coin might be worth 1 cent forever, but a perfect specimen, one preserved in almost incomprehensible condition, enters a world of premium rarity. The jump in value from average condition to pristine condition can be millions of dollars when a piece becomes recognized as unique, unmatched, or historically significant. It's the same principle that causes everyday objects to become priceless simply because they possess extraordinary qualities no others have. And the 2001 D penny, with its clean modern design and copper-plated shine, happens to be one of those coins that can sometimes exhibit shockingly sharp strikes, immaculate fields, and glass-like luster. These rare qualities can propel the piece into a category that collectors all over the world chase relentlessly. But understanding why the penny can obtain such gigantic market attention also requires us to understand the history that shaped this design. The Lincoln cent, introduced in 1909, was the first circulating U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure rather than a symbolic representation of liberty. Abraham Lincoln, chosen to honor the centennial of his birth, became a permanent fixture on the world's most commonly used coin. Over the decades, Americans became so accustomed to seeing Lincoln's face that they hardly questioned the immense historical significance of this decision. Yet behind that portrait lies a story of artistry, politics, national identity, and monetary evolution. The sculptor Victor David Brenner poured his creative energy into the original design, creating a portrait that symbolized dignity, leadership, and the enduring American spirit even long after the years of Civil War turmoil. That same portrait, barely altered, continued into the 21st century, landing on the 2001 D penny as a continuation of that immense legacy. Similarly, the reverse design of the Lincoln Memorial, introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, carried its own weight of symbolism. It wasn't just a building. It was an icon of unity, a place visited by millions, a location where countless historic speeches were delivered, and a symbol of the nation's ongoing pursuit of equality. When this monumental structure appeared on the back of the penny, it served as a daily reminder of American ideals, quietly carried in pockets, dropped into donation jars, spent on gum, and saved in jars for decades. And when collectors examined the 2001 D penny, they also examined decades of architectural symbolism, artistic translation, and minting precision. Yet what pushes the fascination even further is the complex relationship between rarity, condition, and market demand. Many collectors mistakenly believe rarity is only determined by mintage numbers. But that is far from the truth. A coin with billions minted can still become incredibly valuable if certain versions of it were struck with extraordinary quality, or if certain errors occurred during production, or if a few survived in pristine condition due to unusual circumstances. Some might come from original rolls that were never opened. Others may have been placed in coin albums immediately after minting, and a very small number might have been captured before entering general circulation. These tiny coincidences add up, creating a pathway for a simple penny to become an item worth millions in the right context. Stories circulate about elite private collectors offering staggering sums, sometimes reaching into the hundreds of millions, for perfect condition modern coins. It may sound unbelievable, yet the reality of the modern, ultra-wealthy collecting world is that trophy pieces, regardless of denomination, represent status, rarity, and historical significance. And whenever a coin becomes the absolute best example known, the only one graded at a flawless level, and the only one representing perfection in a sea of ordinary specimens, its price can reach unimaginable numbers. That's how a piece theorized to reach values like $432 million becomes part of discussions among high-profile collectors. Not because the penny itself contains expensive metal, but because it becomes the single finest representative of a massively collected series, making it a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And while the average 2001 D penny remains common, the mythical perfect one is pursued like a ghost. Every collector dreams of pulling such a piece from a forgotten roll, a sealed bank box, or a jar left untouched for decades. The possibility alone fuels the excitement. Imagine the moment when someone gently spreads open a fresh roll and sees a coin that gleams like a mirror. It strikes so crisp that every detail of Lincoln's hair shows, every column of the memorial flawless, the fields free of even microscopic imperfections. Such a piece doesn't merely exceed expectations, it redefines them. But the story doesn't end with quality. Even the smallest variations in weight, luster, metal composition, or strike pressure can escalate the value significantly. The standard weight of a 2001 D penny is around 2.5 grams, composed of a zinc core coated with a thin layer of copper. Yet if a coin happens to be struck slightly lighter or heavier due to a minting anomaly, collectors become intensely interested. A few milligrams difference could signal an off-planchet strike, a transitional metal issue, or a roller problem during the creation of the blank discs. And any such deviation, no matter how minor to the untrained eye, can transform an ordinary penny into a numismatic legend, because errors of this type are often extremely rare, typically the result of brief lapses in machine function. Likewise, some coins show doubling on the letters, numbers, or details. This doubling, when authentic and not the result of damage, excites collectors enormously. A double-die penny, even a modern one, can be sold for huge amounts. In a year like 2001, where billions were minted, the presence of a true double-die variety could become one of the rarest finds in modern coinage. Stories continue to circulate in coin forums, collector conventions, and industry publications about elusive double dies that may still be out there unrecognized. Perhaps one day a collector will find one hiding in plain sight, and then we must consider the psychological aspect of coin collecting. Human fascination with small treasures dates back thousands of years. People have always been drawn to the idea of hidden value, unexpected fortune, or a rare relic lying unnoticed in a common place. A penny is the ultimate accessible object. It costs almost nothing, yet it carries the potential for huge value. That contrast fuels imagination. It's why videos, articles, and discussions about valuable pennies generate enormous attention. It's why treasure hunters search through rolls for hours. The 2001 D penny sits at the center of this phenomenon, representing hope that something extraordinary can exist inside the mundane. As collectors handle these coins, they often imagine the journey each one has taken. Has this penny traveled across states? Sat in a register in a small-town grocery store? Been carried by a child collecting loose change? Been through a casino, a bank vault, or fallen between couch cushions for a decade? Every mark tells a story. Every shine or lack of shine speaks of a different past. And yet, a pristine coin with no marks at all tells an even more powerful story, one of preservation, protection, and rarity beyond measure. The market value of a 2001 D penny, especially the types rumored to bring figures like $432 million, is not something determined by the government or a fixed price list. Instead, it is determined by the collectors themselves, through auctions, private sales, and negotiations. A coin is worth whatever someone is willing to pay for it. And the wealthiest collectors in the world have proven time and time again that when they want something rare, they are willing to pay almost anything to secure it. Such a coin becomes a status symbol, a trophy, an irresistible combination of rarity, symbolism, and perfection. And the 2001 D penny, due to its massive mintage, becomes a paradox. The most common coin that might hide the rarest specimen. The emotional impact of discovering a potentially valuable penny is incredible. People report shaking hands, racing heartbeats, and sleepless nights after spotting something unusual on a coin. They post photos online seeking confirmation, hoping they may have stumbled upon the find of a lifetime. And this emotion is not unfounded. Miraculous discoveries have truly occurred before with other denominations. So the possibility is real enough to keep millions engaged. The thought that your fortune could be sitting in a shoebox full of coins, completely unnoticed, feels magical, almost unbelievable. Yet it is this magic that fuels the never-ending fascination with coins like the 2001 D-penny. And so the legend continues to grow. The longer time passes, the fewer untouched rolls exist, the fewer pristine coins remain, and the more collectors crave the perfect example. As word spreads of extreme auction results, even rumors of astronomically priced sales push excitement to greater heights. The idea that a 1-cent coin could reach values like $432 million might sound fantastical, yet every great collectible has defied expectations before. Paintings, baseball cards, rare books, and ancient artifacts have each reached prices once considered impossible. And the most perfect example of a modern penny could easily join those ranks if the right collector desires it enough. As the fascination with the 2001 D-penny grows deeper, one can't help but reflect on how something so small, so common, so overlooked in everyday life can carry such an enormous impact in the world of collecting, history, and human imagination. This tiny disc, bearing the portrait of Abraham Lincoln and the iconic memorial on the reverse, doesn't reveal its story at first glance. Most people who handle it every day never pause to consider that they are holding a piece of American art, craftsmanship, technology, and legacy, all compacted into a single cent that slips so easily from palm to palm. And yet, beneath that casual familiarity lies an entire universe of meaning that continues to unfold as collectors rediscover this coin in new and unexpected ways. The 2001 D-penny is like a mirror reflecting the evolution of American minting technology. By the early 2000s, the U.S. Mint had introduced advanced machinery capable of producing coins at incredible speed, with dies striking blanks at rates exceeding hundreds of times per minute. Yet, even with such automation, the possibility of anomalies slipping into production still existed. The tiniest vibration, the slightest misalignment of a die, a momentary shift in pressure, any of these could give rise to a mint error that collectors now seek with obsessive devotion. And every time a collector examines a 2001 D-penny, they must confront the reality that their coin might be one of those elusive anomalies. A barely noticeable doubling on a letter, the faint shadow of a misaligned die, a strike-through that froze a tiny piece of debris into the surface forever. Each possibility opens an entirely new dimension of value. And beyond the physical coin lies the human element. People have always assigned meaning to objects, especially those tied to national identity. The portrait of Lincoln is not just a likeness. It is a symbol of leadership, courage, and transformation. Millions of Americans carry his image every day without even realizing they are in direct contact with a piece of history. The Lincoln cent has outlived global conflicts, survived economic turbulence, and remained stable through decades of political change. And this continuity has cemented the Lincoln penny as more than currency. It is a cultural artifact. The 2001 D version carries this legacy forward into a new millennium, becoming a bridge between the historical resonance of the 20th century and the technological innovation of the 21SD. Collectors often talk about the soul of a coin, a poetic concept, yet one that makes perfect sense the deeper one dives into numismatics. A coin, especially one as old as 20 or more years, has encountered countless situations. Some have circulated widely, worn by the friction of millions of pockets, machines, counters, and hands. Others were saved early on, carefully protected from the harsh environment of circulation, possibly stored in coin tubes or mint sets that shielded their surfaces from even the smallest blemish. These protected pieces stand apart, not because they are inherently different, but because fate allowed them to remain untouched. Such coins, when discovered decades later, can shock collectors with their luster, detail, and preservation. And when the coin in question is part of a massive mintage year like 2001 but still manages to appear flawless, it becomes a once-in-a-generation treasure. This is how rarity works, not by counting how many were made, but by identifying how many survived in extraordinary condition. Billions may have been struck, but only a microscopic fraction still exist in a state that collectors would call perfect. This creates a tension in the market between abundance and scarcity. On one hand, everyone believes they might stumble across a valuable coin in their spare change. On the other hand, experienced collectors understand that 99.999% of these coins will never surpass face value. But that infinitesimal percentage that does carry value becomes the driving force behind endless searching. Hope is a powerful motivator, and the 2001 D-penny continues to inspire that hope for collectors everywhere. When stories started circulating about specific 2001 D-pennies rumored to reach extraordinary auction prices, including those approaching figures like $432 million, it captured global attention. Even people who had never thought about coins began searching drawers, jars, and wallets, driven by the possibility of discovering a hidden fortune. And this phenomenon isn't unique to the 2001 D-penny. Other modern coins have triggered similar frenzies. Yet this particular penny stands out because it appears so simple, so ordinary, so unremarkable, until one looks closer. The idea that one coin out of billions could be the single best example ever found makes the chase irresistibly compelling. And the social and economic landscape of collecting supports this possibility. A unique piece always has the potential to command astronomical prices if the right collectors desire it enough. But the value doesn't come only from condition. It comes from the way collectors emotionally connect with the penny. The Lincoln cent is often the first coin children encounter. It is the coin used in piggy banks, allowance money, school fundraisers, and countless first savings experiences. People remember the smell of pennies, the feeling of holding a handful of them as a child, the excitement of buying something with coins rather than bills. This emotional memory stays with people throughout their lives, making the Lincoln cent not just a collectible, but a symbol of childhood, learning, and nostalgia. The 2001 D-penny, being part of a modern era, taps into the memories of people who grew up in the late 1990s and early 2000s, making it especially meaningful to a large and active collector demographic today. And then there's the thrill of discovery. Every day, thousands of people search through their change, coin rolls, and forgotten jars hoping to uncover one of these rare treasures. Social media platforms are filled with people posting photos of their finds, asking experts for guidance, comparing tiny details under magnification. The 2001 D-penny frequently appears in these discussions because it sits at the intersection of accessibility and rarity. Everyone has seen one, yet very few have found an extraordinary one. This contrast fuels excitement and keeps collectors returning to the hunt again and again. Even coin dealers acknowledge the unique aura surrounding this penny. Many dealers report that customers come in specifically asking about the 2001 D-penny, wanting to know what to look for, hoping to confirm whether their coin might be special. And although most are disappointed when their coin turns out to be common, the fascination doesn't fade because the possibility remains. As long as there is even one coin out there rumored to be worth life-changing money, enthusiasm will continue to spread. What makes the chase even more compelling is the mystery behind the perfect specimen. No one knows where it might be. It could be in a sealed roll tucked away in someone's attic. It could be in a vault belonging to a private collector who never publicized their treasure. It might still be sitting unnoticed in a bank box. Or it could be found tomorrow by someone who casually empties their pockets after a long day. The future of this legendary coin is unpredictable, which adds to its mystique. Collectors imagine themselves being the lucky person to discover it, imagining how their life would change instantly, imagining the publicity, the auction, the excitement, the global attention. It transforms the mundane act of searching through pennies into a thrilling treasure hunt. And while the material value of a penny is nearly nothing, its symbolic and collectible value can reach the skies when the right attributes intersect. The design details, the strike sharpness, the luster, the absence of marks. All these factors contribute to creating a piece that transcends ordinary numismatics and enters the realm of priceless artifacts. And as long as people continue believing in these extraordinary possibilities, the 2001 D penny will remain one of the most discussed modern coins. As we move even deeper into the unfolding journey of the 2001 D penny, the story starts to transcend beyond simple collecting and begins to touch on the fascinating human relationship with value itself. For centuries, people have been enchanted by the idea that wealth can hide in plain sight, hidden not in treasure chests buried deep underground or in vaults protected by layers of concrete and steel, but in everyday objects that pass unnoticed through millions of hands. The 2001 D penny embodies this possibility to perfection. It looks ordinary, so ordinary that people toss it on countertops, drop it on car floors, or leave it forgotten in pockets without thinking twice. Yet inside that ordinariness lies the spark that ignites curiosity. What if this particular penny is the rare one? What if this simple, copper-colored disc is a life-changing discovery? This question sits silently in the mind of every coin collector, hobbyist, or even casual searcher who picks up a penny and examines it closely under a light. It is the possibility, not the guarantee, that makes the experience so thrilling. And possibility is what gives the 2001 D penny its enduring mystique. Even though billions were minted, only a microscopic fraction could ever reach that mythical state of perfection, the state that collectors dream about, the condition that could catapult a humble 1-cent piece into the realm of priceless artifacts. And so the story of this coin becomes a story of hope, persistence, and imagination. Every person who pours out a jar of coins onto a table begins in the same place, with curiosity. They push the coins around, pick some up, inspect them with a loupe or magnifying glass, and suddenly the world around them seems to quiet down. Time slows. The clinking of coins becomes soothing, and for a moment, the floor of the universe opens up just a little, offering the narrowest chance at discovering something extraordinary. It is this feeling that brings people back to coin searching again and again. The 2001 D penny, being plentiful yet potentially valuable, is often one of the first coins people search for when beginning their treasure hunting journey. Collectors know that most of these pennies have seen their fair share of life. They show wear on Lincoln's hair, scratches across the fields, dull patches where the luster once shimmered, and dents from countless impacts with other coins. But every now and then, a searcher finds one that looks different, shiny, crisp, possibly untouched by circulation. And this moment is powerful because it reminds the collector that rarity is not only statistical, it is experiential. The sight of a pristine 2001 D penny emerging from a pile of worn coins feels like spotting a rare gem among pebbles on a beach. What makes this phenomenon so interesting is the psychological journey collectors undergo with each coin they inspect. As they search, their eyes become trained to notice the smallest details, details most people never see. The tilt of a number, the thickness of a letter, the shape of Lincoln's ear, the number of visible steps on the memorial, the smoothness of the fields. They start to develop an intimate connection with the craftsmanship of the coin, appreciating the precision required to create such tiny art. And in doing so, they begin to appreciate not just the coin itself, but the minting process, the history behind it, and the hands through which it has passed. The 2001 D penny becomes a canvas for this deeper understanding. From its weight of 2.5 grams to its copper plating process to the zinc core that defines modern minting practices, the coin reveals the layers of technological evolution that have shaped American currency. Every detail holds meaning. The alloy choices reflect economic decisions. The design reflects national identity, and the mint mark reflects regional production capacity. And when collectors turn the coin over, they see the Lincoln Memorial, a monument tied to generations of American memory. Even the faint outline of the seated statue inside the memorial echoes Lincoln's presence on the obverse, creating a symbolic loop that reinforces the unity of the design. But beyond the minting and the symbolism, there is another dimension that keeps collectors fascinated: the whisper of possible errors or anomalies that might lie hidden within the 2001 D minting year. Though many coins appear identical, there are stories of subtle die varieties that have yet to be fully cataloged. anomalies that only the sharpest eyes might catch. A small extra thickness on a number, a soft doubling on the letters, an out-of-place ridge, or an abnormal texture could mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth thousands, or in mythical cases, millions. These tiny differences are what fuel endless debates among collectors. Forums buzz with discussions, photos, magnification studies, and theories. People share discoveries, ask for opinions, and often spark community-wide searches when a new anomaly is rumored. This communal excitement makes the 2001 D-penny more than a collectible. It becomes a shared experience, a cultural phenomenon within the numismatic world. People from all walks of life, students, retirees, hobbyists, experts, participate in this collective hunt. And the excitement spreads beyond collectors into the general public whenever news stories surface about valuable pennies being found. Suddenly, everyone starts checking their change. Families gather to search through jars. Kids empty out piggy banks. People who know nothing about coins begin learning about mint marks, dyes, and luster. In this way, the 2001 D-penny becomes not just a collectible, but a spark that ignites curiosity in thousands of new hobbyists every year. And the fascinating part is that the legend of this coin continues to grow organically. It grows with every story told, every post shared, every rumor spread about an ultra-rare specimen fetching astronomical sums. As long as the possibility remains that an unbelievably perfect 2001 D-penny exists somewhere, sealed in a forgotten roll, embedded in an untouched mint set, or lost in a drawer, waiting for the right eyes to find it, the excitement cannot fade. The concept of a 2001 D-penny being worth upward of $432 million may sound surreal to the general public, but collectors understand how value forms. They understand how one-of-a-kind items trigger bidding wars between elite buyers. They understand how a coin that represents the pinnacle of perfection for its series becomes a trophy piece. And they understand how markets work, driven by emotion, competition, status, and rarity. Even the idea that such a coin might exist is enough to stir imaginations around the world. This ongoing fascination with the coin also highlights something profound about human nature: the longing to discover something extraordinary in the ordinary. The penny, perhaps the most overlooked object in all of American currency, becomes the perfect symbol of hidden potential. It reminds people that greatness can exist in unexpected places, that life-changing surprises can emerge from everyday moments, that miracles sometimes hide in the smallest corners of reality. And so, the legend of the 2001 D-penny continues, carried forward by collectors, dreamers, historians, and hobbyists who believe that within the billions of circulating coins lies something truly special. Every person who searches, every person who examines a penny closely, helps keep the story alive. And as long as this story remains alive, the 2001 D-penny will continue to captivate the imagination of people across the world, inspiring searches, conversations, discoveries, and dreams. And now, as we move deeper into the final stretch of this incredible journey surrounding the 2001 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, the energy of the story shifts, because by this point in the narrative something extraordinary has begun to happen around the world. People who once ignored pennies entirely now check every coin dish, every pocket, every car compartment, every jar, and every forgotten drawer in their homes because the legend of the single 2001 D-penny, said to be worth more than $432 million, has spread like wildfire, carried through late-night conversations, coin collector forums, news broadcasts, social media debates, historical documentaries, and whispered speculations among numismatists who believe they might finally be witnessing one of the greatest treasure hunts in modern history. What began as a simple discussion about weight, composition, design, mint mark positions, and historical background has now become something larger, something symbolic, something that makes ordinary people imagine extraordinary possibilities. And this is the magic that surrounds any coin with a story powerful enough to ignite a global wave of curiosity. People start reaching out with their own finds. Some show coins that look reddish and worn. Others find specimens that appear almost freshly minted as if they were struck just yesterday, with blazing luster and sharp details. A few lucky individuals uncover rolls of pennies that sat untouched in bank vaults for more than 2 decades, sealed in original paper wrappers from 2001, just waiting to be rediscovered. And every person who finds one wonders the same question. Could this be the one? Could this be the rare die variety, the mint-stage experimental strike, the transitional error, the ultra-high-grade specimen, the mysterious anomaly that collectors whisper about and auction houses quietly prepare for? The one example that experts believe could theoretically push values into the hundreds of millions because of its absolute uniqueness? And gradually, the story of the 2001 D penny moves beyond just metal and design and weight and mintage. It becomes a story about hope, a story about probability defying the ordinary, a story about how something so small, so overlooked, so universally dismissed as nearly worthless could suddenly have the power to change someone's destiny. One coin, one moment, one discovery that transforms everything. Collectors begin analyzing the deepest layers of detail. They zoom into Lincoln's eyes with microscopes, noticing how the sculpting style changed subtly in the late 1990s and early 2000s. They analyze the font of the date, the slope of the numeral 2, the alignment of the 0, the spacing between the 0 and the 1, and the thickness of the 1 at different angles under varying light sources. They study the Denver Mint mark D, looking for signs of repunching, doubling, rotation, misalignment, and distortions caused by die wear. Some examine the metallic composition, weighing their coins down to the hundredth of a gram, comparing them to standard zinc cents, to earlier copper cents, and even to experimental alloy strikes rumored to have occurred during transitional testing phases. The number of people engaging in deep microscopic analysis in their own homes reaches levels previously only seen in professional coin grading labs. At the same time, historians begin exploring the deeper background of the year 2001. They examine minting processes, production records, employee logs, equipment changes, and die transfer records from the Denver Mint. They uncover small clues, tiny inconsistencies, unexplained entries, and mysterious footnotes buried inside decades-old documents. Some speculate about a particular die pair that was used briefly and then retired unusually quickly. That rumor becomes a spark. The spark becomes a theory. The theory becomes a legend. And legends, once ignited, take on lives of their own. Meanwhile, the marketplace reacts with tremendous volatility. The price of high-grade 2001 D cents begins to creep upward. First to a few dollars, then to dozens, then hundreds, and then into the thousands for the most flawless mint state examples graded by major grading services. Auction houses begin spotlighting these coins, pushing them into premium catalog sections alongside historically important gold pieces and ultra-rare colonial issues. And although no verified $432 million sale has happened yet, the speculation about a single ultra-rare specimen capable of reaching that astronomical value begins to flood the market with anticipation. The narrative alone has added fuel to the fire, but this is where the story takes an even deeper turn, because the true power of a coin like the 2001 D Lincoln cent isn't measured only in metal or rarity or potential monetary value. It is measured in imagination. It is measured in how many people suddenly see value in something they once ignored. It is measured in how many families sit together sorting coins at the kitchen table for the first time in years. It is measured in how many forgotten jars are opened, how many memories are unlocked, and how many individuals begin dreaming again. And now, as we move into the final, emotional conclusion of this journey, imagine holding a single 2001 D penny in your hand right now. Imagine its small weight, just 2.5 grams if struck in standard zinc composition. Imagine the copper-plated surface reflecting warm light, the texture of the rim, the raised relief of Abraham Lincoln's portrait. Imagine the reverse design of the Lincoln Memorial, rendered with precise architectural lines that millions of Americans walked past during lifetimes of work, struggle, hope, triumph, and change. Imagine the tiny initials VDB, connecting the coin to one of America's most iconic sculptors. Imagine the D Mint mark, linking it to the powerful machinery inside the Denver Mint, where molten metal transforms into pieces of national history. This small coin has traveled from production lines to bank vaults, From car cup holders to sidewalks, from pockets to purse linings, from store counters to vending machines. It may have passed between thousands of hands, each with their own story. It may have been part of someone's first paycheck, someone's childhood lemonade stand, someone's donation to a charity jar, someone's bus fare on the way to an important moment in their life. Coins are storytellers. They carry the fingerprints of time. And in this moment, as we close this journey, you realize something powerful. The true worth of a coin is not only measured in dollars. Its worth is measured in the story it carries, the people it connects, the possibility it sparks, and the mystery it leaves behind. But still, the legend remains. Somewhere, hidden in a collection, a bank vault, a forgotten jar, or a sealed mint-state roll, there may exist a single unique 2001 D penny with an error so dramatic, so rare, so unexpected, that if revealed today, it could indeed command a value beyond anything the coin world has ever seen. Yes, even potentially surpassing the whispered number of $432 million. And until that coin is found, the hunt continues. The hope continues. The mystery lives on.